there, welcome to another video. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. For today's video, what I wanted to talk about are my top 5 tips for transitioning into a vegetarian, vegan, or plant-based diet. Veganism has actually grown 600% just since 2014, so that's a huge amount of growth just in 4 years' time. There's also been about a 90% increase in vegan or plant-based related search terms on Google. So based on those little fun facts, I kind of figured, okay, there's obviously a ton of people that are now becoming more interested in this lifestyle, in this diet, and they are looking for information. And I even noticed that with my own, personal circle of family and friends. I'm finding that a lot more people are interested in the plant-based lifestyle. They want to try new vegan meals, they're trying out new recipes, and a lot of people in my age group and even beyond that are seeming to really sort of reduce the amount of animal products they use in their everyday life. So I thought this would be the perfect video to include on my channel. I am so proud to say that I've been plant-based for over half my life. I was vegetarian for quite a number of years, and then I have been 100% vegan in the past 6 or so years. So I've been doing this for a long time. I have a lot of experience. I can answer a lot of questions, hopefully. So whether you're somebody that maybe just wants to incorporate more plant-based meals into their weekly routine, or if you're looking to become 100% vegan, I hope this video is of some help to you. So my first tip, or my first sort of point of encouragement for you, is to take as much time as you need to transition into the plant-based or vegan way of life. Some people may be able to switch to a 100% plant-based or vegan diet overnight and they never look back. For others, it might take a little bit of time. It may take a transition period, and that is totally okay. In fact, sometimes a slower transition may ultimately be for the best because it will ensure that you're able to stay on the lifestyle long term. And it's not like culture shock, like if you've been used to living a certain way or eating a certain way or spending your money in a certain way or whatever the case may be, if you've been used to doing those things and you have your sort of habits that you've been doing your whole life, it might be a little tricky for you to just shut that off and change completely overnight. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think it can be better in a lot of ways to have a more slow, sort of controlled transition. I find that if you really take your time with it and you slowly kind of change your daily routine or your daily meals or what have you, it's a little easier to stay on the lifestyle long term. You might want to start by committing to one plant-based or one vegan meal per week, or you could do like a full day. So you could do something like the Meatless Mondays, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. Try to commit to doing one specific day per week that's completely vegan or completely plant-based. Eventually you'll find it's super easy to incorporate more and more plant-based meals. You'll probably find a ton of new recipes. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff that you want to try, and you'll just find that you'll start replacing some of your standard traditional meals with vegan ones. So at the end of the day, it's not a race. It really isn't. Don't put pressure on yourself to be a perfect 100% vegan overnight. There probably are going to be times that you slip up, or maybe you eat something that you didn't realize isn't completely vegan, and it's not the end of the world. Don't beat yourself up about it. My second tip for transitioning into a plant-based or vegan diet is to do your research. You really want to be well informed and gather as much information as possible, especially when it comes to something like changing your diet or lifestyle. I think the most important thing when transitioning into a vegan or plant-based diet is to understand it from a nutritional point of view. You want to try to gather as much information as possible so that you are following a diet that is nutritionally complete, that you're not going to have any deficiencies. So researching proper nutrition and ensuring that you're getting all of the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, macronutrients you need is really the most important thing in ensuring that you can stay on this lifestyle long term and that you're going to stay healthy, you're going to be feeling great and like the best version of yourself. So nutrition is definitely probably the most important thing you could possibly research when it comes to transitioning into plant-based or into veganism. I think it's important too to research the impact that animal agriculture has on the environment. Our world today is faced with so many serious environmental issues, and a lot of them are directly related to the magnitude really of factory farming and how much land mass it takes up and the amount of cattle and animal production that we have in this world. Something that matters most to me is being acutely aware of the realities of the way that animals are treated in these factory farms and in slaughterhouses, in fur production and leather production. It's painful. It's like I don't want to know, but I reached a point when I was vegetarian that I decided I can't be blind to this. This is something that I know deep down inside matters immensely to me. I can't carry on pretending not to know or just turning a blind eye. Netflix documentaries, when I was still vegetarian, the documentaries were another thing that I found to be kind of like the last push I needed to become completely vegan. I feel like the documentaries, it was just like you sit down for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, and there's so much information that's very well organized and condensed into this one, you know, 60 or 90 minute or whatever documentary. And I remember I would sit down and watch these documentaries and I would feel like mind blown with all of the information that I had just taken in. Whereas if you're surfing the web and you're looking at all these different websites and watching these different videos, it's like you feel like you're getting all this information. It's all over the place, which can feel a little overwhelming. Some of my favorite documentaries are Forks Over Knives, Food Inc., there's Cowspiracy. I actually just watched another one on the weekend that might be my favorite of all of them. It's called Live and Let Live, and it was just such a like raw, genuine documentary. The majority of that film, which I really liked about it, was just sort of like one-on-one interviews with families or with individuals, and what they were speaking about was their own personal journey into veganism and why they transitioned, why they love animals, why they feel compassion for them, and they were kind of giving like accounts of their relationships with animals and how that impacted their decision to go vegan. So I found it to just be such an innocent, genuine way of talking about the lifestyle and why people do it. So I really liked that one. I really recommend that you watch it. Earthlings is another one that I tried to watch. I remember we turned it on for like honestly under 5 minutes and I was bawling. Like I was in tears. I was like hysterical almost. It was before my husband and I were married. We were still dating at the time, and I remember he just shut it off and he's like, you know what? We're not gonna watch this. You can't just sit there. You're not gonna get anything out of this. So I guess maybe it's not smart of me to recommend Earthlings, but I'm gonna recommend Earthlings if you really need to see what happens to animals. So maybe I shouldn't recommend Earthlings because I couldn't even get through it myself, but for that reason, I'm gonna recommend Earthlings. And if you really need one final push to really get you motivated to stick with veganism or stick with a plant-based diet, I think that Earthlings is sort of one of the ones that I often hear people cite, like, oh God, I watched Earthlings, I'm never eating meat again. So I can get through it. I could only watch a few minutes of it without getting terribly upset. I think I was already vegan at that point too, so it's kind of like, you know what, there's no point. Number 3 is try new things. So try new things in terms of trying out new restaurants and trying out new products that you see at the mall or at the grocery store. So when I first went vegan, I'm giving you another personal anecdote here, but one of the things that I guess inspired me and excited me the most about the lifestyle was going to try new vegan restaurants that I had never been to. And I always found that doing that exposed me to all these creative new meal ideas and different foods and things that I otherwise wouldn't have tried. I always found too that these vegan restaurants that I would go to, because let's face it, there's way fewer completely plant-based restaurants than there are like regular restaurants, but I always found that the vegan places that I went to had such a strong sense of community, and they were cool to go to because it was like you open the door to this place, you sit down, and as a new vegan you automatically feel like you belong. You don't feel like the odd man out that's saying I can't eat this, I can't eat that, whatever. You automatically feel like you belong there. The restaurant staff would sort of get to know me and they would recognize me, which felt really cool. And then you'd often see a lot of the same people eating there because they do often have a really strong community vibe because there's so many like-minded individuals in one space. It's easy to bounce like meal ideas off each other or talk about the menu, and there'd always be like a bulletin board with all these vegan events, and it just gives such a strong sense of community that I found that as a brand new vegan and I was still unsure about certain things, as soon as I went to one of these restaurants, I immediately had this sense that like these are my people, this is where I belong. So veganism sort of started to sound like a cool club that I really wanted to be a part of. As silly as that sounds, I really credit these vegan restaurants in my town for helping me get into the lifestyle and staying there. Like, you know, when you walk into a restaurant and you see like a bulletin board and they have like all these events and they were always vegan or like fitness stuff, and like there was just so many things that I was exposed to just by going to vegan restaurants. So if you guys have any vegan restaurants in your town that you haven't tried, even if you're just doing like Meatless Mondays or you're trying to incorporate more plant-based meals, it can be really helpful to go to these places and, you know, talk to other people there, talk to the staff. You'll probably find these places to be really inspiring. At least I did. So that's something that I found to be really helpful to me when I was a new vegan. Kind of along the same lines as trying vegan restaurants, but that would be trying new vegan products at the grocery store. So I used to be pretty set in my ways with what I ate. Like I would have like my favorite meals, stuff that was healthy, clean, reliably vegan, stuff that I could make. I knew it was filling, I knew it was nutritionally sound, and I just stuck with like a certain way of cooking for a really long time. And I have to say, it's only been within the past maybe 2 years. I've been vegan for about 6 or 7 years now. It's been, actually, is this my 7th year vegan already? Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think this might be going on 7 years, but anyway, it's only been within the past maybe 2 years that I've really tried to branch out at the grocery store. I try to mostly promote like the whole foods, plant-based, make all your own meals from scratch, use raw ingredients, don't eat processed food. I try to focus on that, but honestly, in the last little while, I've been really trying to branch out and try new vegan products and new vegan cheese and like the Gardein stuff, different ice creams, like have some fun with it, honestly. Yeah, like you do want to be a healthy vegan. I'm not saying go nuts and try like vegan junk food for every meal, but have some fun with it too. Don't feel like you're restricted to just like brown rice and plain tofu and steamed broccoli. Like, you don't have to eat like that as a vegan. So much good stuff now, and I swear to God, like every time I open Instagram or I go to the grocery store, there's like 500 new vegan products that I've never heard of. So instead of getting stuck in like the boring food rut and just like plain rice, plain veggies, whatever, try the vegan products. Honestly, it can be a lot of fun. I go to the grocery store and sometimes I'll spend like 2-3 hours like just looking at all the new stuff and reading the labels, and like it's a lot of fun. And that can really expose you to, once again, a lot of creative meal ideas that you may not have even thought of otherwise. So I find that to be really inspiring. You might be surprised at how unreal some of those products are. Like, honestly, I never used to buy any of that stuff because I thought it's junk food, which honestly a lot of it is, so you don't want to go nuts. I'm not saying go overboard and eat processed vegan food for every meal. Please don't do that. I'm not advising that you do, but I have been pleasantly surprised so many times. Make like homemade vegan burgers from scratch and just put like a little slice of vegan cheese on there, and it can make all the difference in the world. And I find too that a lot of my non-vegan friends and family, like they still love it. They think it's awesome. So it's a really cool way to inspire others to try it out. It makes the transition period a little bit easier. So for instance, something like the Gardein crispy tenders, they're like a vegan chicken strip. If you toss that in a bit of barbecue sauce, they're so good. So what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of products out there that are really good that can make your transition way easier on you. You want to be open-minded and creative in the kitchen. You might want to try stuff that you've never had before. Like, people ask me like, what do you eat? And like I tell them like tempeh, quinoa, seitan, like all these weird words that no one's really ever heard of. And I think that's part of the beauty of a plant-based diet, is if you're on a standard diet, there's like a whole world of food that you may not have even heard of before. I was there even when I was vegetarian. I was vegetarian for years before I went vegan, and there were certain things I had never even heard of until I went vegan, and some of those things are my favorite food now. I just think like whether you're vegan or not, this is just like good food. It's just like a good thing to eat. So try stuff out that you haven't before. Don't be afraid of it. Don't think, ew, that's gross, I won't like it. You just have to try it. Get new stuff from the grocery store, come home and find a recipe and make it, and you will probably be pleasantly surprised by how good a lot of that stuff is. So moving into tip number 4, and this is a really important one. Focus on reduction. Make reducing the amount of animal products you use in your everyday life a little bit smaller each day. If you are somebody that wants to go vegan, or if you want to try to transition into a more plant-based lifestyle, even if that doesn't mean 100% vegan, don't worry about it. Don't worry about people judging you. There's probably a lot of people that can go 100% vegan overnight, never look back. But if you're not one of those people, that's okay. For me, even as a 100% full-time vegan, I think a lot of my friends and family, people that know me really well, would probably classify me as a really strict vegan. But even for me, having said that, my own ultimate goal is reduction of the use use of animal products and reduction of the use of anything that is harmful to the environment as a whole. And that's sort of my own personal goal as a vegan, is to participate in that reduction. But it's also my sort of like dream for the world, is that if everybody just reduced their consumption of animal products by a little bit, that would make such a huge impact. This lifestyle is really important to me. I'm so passionate about it. I love it so much. It's something that even as a complete 100% full-time vegan, like I said, it's something that I work at every single day. And as much as I would love to see a completely vegan world and the complete abolition of the use of animal byproducts, even I can understand that that is so idealistic and it's not very likely at the stage of the game that the world is in right now. I do believe that eventually, whether it's 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now or however long it takes, I really do believe that this trend towards the plant-based lifestyle and our attitude toward the use of animals and their byproducts, I really do believe that that will change. And I think we will have a vegan world eventually. I don't think it's going to be in my lifetime, but I wish it was. And I mean, I would love nothing more than to see a completely vegan world happen right now, but I know that that's idealistic, and I know that it's probably not likely to happen in my lifetime, but we're making huge progress towards that. When I do have friends or family or people I know ask me, or they'll say things like, Laura, oh my God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be vegan. I wish I could be plant-based. But I say to them, I would rather have people try consistently, you know, on a daily basis or a weekly basis. I would rather see people consistently try to make changes to their lifestyle, to their diet, try to do meatless Mondays, try to incorporate more plant-based meals during the week, than to, you know, sit, make the decision, I'm gonna be 100% vegan right now, and then fail or become jaded by it, because it can be overwhelming. It can be information overload when you start researching. And again, depending on the type of diet that you're coming from, it can be a huge change. And of course that's gonna be difficult. So then the lifestyle just gets written off as being too restrictive, too unhealthy, too difficult. People become jaded by it, and you know, they just say, forget it. Why am I gonna do that? I feel like crap on it. I have low energy, whatever the case may be. I really wanted to highlight that reduction, I think, is such a great motivation for transitioning into this lifestyle versus the let's go 100% vegan like now. I think that could maybe be a little off-putting or a little bit difficult for some people, and for some people it's not. I've had a lot of people approach me and be like, yeah, I gave up meat last year, I haven't felt better, I never looked back. But I have had a ton of people say that's a huge change from what I'm used to, and it's going to be really difficult for me to all of a sudden change every single thing I do to be 100% vegan. So because of that, tip number 4 is focus on reduction. These tips are piggybacking off of each other a little bit, but going into my 5th and final tip, which is decide what your motivation is for the changeover and stick to it. Make that your mantra, make that your kind of everyday reminder of why you want to become vegan. Whether that be for your own health and wellness, if you're an environmentalist and you're upset by climate change and the destruction of our environment, that's a great motivation as well. Or if you're somebody like me and animal welfare is very near and dear to your heart. I think these 3 things are probably the most popular reasons that people want to either become vegan or incorporate more vegan lifestyle changes into their everyday routine. Now that I'm older, obviously, I'm concerned about the environment a lot more than I ever thought that I would be, to be honest. So the environmental impacts of factory farming have become almost as hard for me to swallow as the animal suffering that's involved with factory farming. I find just the devastation and the destruction of the planet really upsetting. So that's something that's really near and dear to my heart. And then the health and wellness benefits of a plant-based diet, honest to God, are like the icing on the cake for me. I am super into wellness and healthy living and fitness and that sort of thing, but I honestly think that that came to me as a side effect of being plant-based or being vegan for all this time. I've even said to people, if veganism or the plant-based diet was the worst diet for me, if it didn't have all of these health benefits, I would still do it. Because reducing animal suffering and saving animal lives and not allowing myself to contribute to their suffering, when it's happening on such a massive scale, that is more important to me than anything. So that's my sort of core value in being a vegan, and I think it's important that you have that too. You're transitioning into veganism, that you have that motivation as well. So if you're like me and you really hate what happens to animals, that's an amazing motivation. It's something that will really keep you going. If you want to turn your health around, that's a great motivation as well. If you're upset by the environmental impact of consuming animal products, that's a great reason as well. There's just so many good reasons and so many motivations for doing this. So I mean, I don't think I'm verbalizing what I mean by this very well. The only thing that I can say to make it more clear is that the reason that I'm vegan, the reason that I stay vegan and will always be this way, is because I love animals so much. I cannot contribute to their suffering. I will not contribute to their suffering. And that's sort of my stance. So I think if your core values are sort of at heart, when you're making this transition, it will be all the more easy for you to transition into this lifestyle and stay on this lifestyle. I wish I could speak that more clearly. I feel like I'm not really getting my point across because I'm getting all emotional now. But I think, again, yeah, if you can kind of find your motivation, find why making this change is important to you, have that sort of always be at the back of your mind, and you'll probably won't find it to be that difficult to transition. I find that people that have transitioned and they have become vegan, the ones that stick with it do seem to really they seem to be very emotionally kind of connected to the environment or to animals, or they take their own health and wellness very seriously. So those are my 5 tips for transitioning into a plant-based lifestyle or a vegan lifestyle. I know they were all kind of similar. Once I started talking, they all seemed to kind of play off one another, but I do think they all kind of deserve their own category. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it was helpful to you. If you guys have any questions for me, please leave a comment or send me an email or get in touch with me in some way. Check me out on Instagram. My handle is @FitVeganFreak, and I will see you in another video. Bye.